Hey, good morning. It's Brenda Meller with Meller Marketing, and I am bringing you another slice of social media pie, guys. And going to be a very special show today because I have a special guest who's actually going to be arriving in just a minute. Guess who's coming up over here? Well, you can see because her name is right there. But we're going to have Kesha Kentroning, and Kesha and I were doing a pre-call kind of prep. And we were talking about audio, and we were talking about whether she should have headphones on or not. And I said, actually, let's make this part of the show. And I think she's going to go grab them out of the background. So I will have her come on in just a minute. But for those of you who are watching, I want to say good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here today. I am delighted because we're going to be having a great conversation with Kesha today about her process in writing a book and in producing a podcast. And as many of you know, I'm working on a book. I have a book called Social Media Pie that I have been working on over the past roughly year, and I'm getting close to the point of looking at publishing it. So this is going to be the nudge I need to kind of move me over. And I'm also going to be converting Social Media Pie, this interview series, into a podcast. So selfishly, guys, I'm actually doing this a little bit for me. But I know that many of you are also considering going through the writing process, or you might be a writer yourself, or listening to podcasts and looking to learn some of that information. So Kesha, are you there? I'm trying to see if she's in the we're almost like in a studio celebrity place here, and I'm trying to see if she's in the green room waiting. It's almost like I'm Johnny Carson and I'm calling in my special guest.
Brenda, I can't find them.
Oh no! Oh, is that right? You can't find them? That's all right. Well, so I want you guys to listen to the audio difference right now, because this is one of the learn. We never make mistakes on my show. We have learning experiences, but you can kind of tell the difference in the audio quality. Now I've got these tiny little earbud.
Those are good. I need some of those.
They're small and they're flat, and I've got this tiny little lapel microphone, and you know, it was a little expensive. I don't know, $80 or so for this, but it's worth it because I do a lot of speaking. These things I like because they're not the big honking headset.
I don't like those either.
And then I know some people have like the podcaster microphones. They cover their face. It's almost like the mask when you're out in public. It's huge. And I'm not there, but I will say I'm in an insulated room. It's fairly low background quality in terms of noise. Now, Kesha, why don't you take a few minutes, tell people who you are, a little bit about your background, and then we're going to talk about the audio quality difference there too.
Thank you so much for bringing me back, Brenda. You know I love what you do. So it's such a joy for me to be here this morning. And a little bit about me. First of all, I'm a wife. I couldn't do any of this without my husband. He is my big, my background, my backbone, my everything. He cheers me up and kind of helps me get pumped up and get going. So I always start off with everything I do, and I acknowledge him, because without his support and who he is, it wouldn't allow me to even do half of the things that I get to do.
Is he home right now?
Oh, no, he's not at home. He's not.
Do you want to call him in and have him say hi?
Not here right now. But you know what? We had a conversation this morning, and he said, "You know what? You're fine, because I didn't sleep as good last night. But you know what? You'll be fine. You'll turn it on." And he's right, because as soon as I got to your face, Brenda, I was like.
Likewise. And Kesha, you and I met, and I talked about this the first time I interviewed you a few months back, but we met, I think, online virtually first, and then we met at a national conference where we were both speakers, and it was kind of like fangirl moment for both of us. We're like, you know? But we did an interview earlier, and I just feel like we have similar energy and the chemistry and our values align very closely with one another. We're very supportive of women. Absolutely. And kind of forward focus, inspirational. So I would agree, even if I'm having a bad day, like I was kind of feeling a little off this morning, but as soon as I got on with you, I'm like, oh, I feel fine now. You know?
I know, and it's such a real thing. And I don't want to ever act like I just get up in the morning and I'm always on, because that's what people sometimes think is that it's on. We're not. It takes time to get centered, to meditate. So we centered this together this morning. We meditated and we prayed.
Yeah.
One thing that I think about when I think of me is I'm a passionate speaker. I'm usually high energy in everything that I do. I'm a nurturer. I have a passion for connecting people to relationships and the connectivity and understanding the power of networking, that every single thing that we do is relational. One of the great things that I get to do that I love doing is I get to train teams. I'm working right now in the space in diversity and inclusion, and I'm telling you, all that I've done, my background is recruitment and human resources. So I'm all about relationships, and I love people. And I had to find a way where my empathic, because I'm such an empath, learn how to channel that energy to really be able to hear from people. And I'm learning today to listen, understand people, not to be understood. And I'm in this place today where I get to do this every single day. Really, when it came to writing a book and networking, it's your superpower. It's funny. I was at a networking event in 2017 and I met women from all over the world, Brenda. I went to a conference with Dress for Success. It was a leadership summit. And women were there from Hawaii, from England, they were from Italy, they were from Australia, Ireland, everywhere. And I recognized that I was connecting, but I wasn't doing what people say you do at a networking event. What do you do? Those things, I didn't do those things. I operated in my passion and I my authentic self, and I talked to people and I understood the value of hearing their stories. And I started to see the correlation in all of our stories, how we had all these things in common. And that was really what helped us connect. And I'm still connected to so many of them. But when I got ready to leave, I was at the airport. This was in Arizona. I was at the airport and I met a guy at the airport. And oh my goodness, we were talking and he said, you know what? Networking is your superpower. And I have
he gave you that line. I was wondering where that came from. Yeah.
He said, that's your superpower. You don't mind talking to people. I'm watching how you're just talking to people. And I said, you know what? I don't mind talking to people and I have a joy for it. But as a kid in school, my teachers would probably say, no, you're talking too much. And hearing that as a little girl, it almost suppressed the real authentic who I was. And I had to get back to a place where I was working on the inside of me, loving who I am and showing up. Energy, loving, period. Because oftentimes in corporate America, we don't talk about, oh, I love that, or I just love her. We don't do it, but I make sure that I get to do that. And in the work that I do 9 to 5, it is a Catholic organization. And we pray before meetings and we pray before meetings. It fills oh my gosh, Brenda, it fills me up so much.
Probably, I mean, I think all the time, but maybe even now more than ever, where we're kind of feeling like we're a bit like,
people need to feel the love. We need to feel the connection. We need to feel that people value us. And I think as we go through everything that we do, if we're not valuing people, we're not operating in empathy and compassion, we're missing the mark. We're missing it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I agree with you and all fronts of everything you're talking about. And it's kind of interesting to hear the background of where the networking issue superpower came from. So it's funny how sometimes it's conversational things that end up becoming our taglines. And that was it for you. So I did drop in on the screen here. So I'm curious for those of you watching, whether you're watching on Facebook Live or LinkedIn Live, I always like to tell people, please comment below because we can't see who you are, whether you're watching this live right now as we're talking, or maybe you're watching the playback later on throughout the day or YouTube, weeks from now. Please still leave us a comment and let us know where you're watching from so we can see you. And I also put in here, as you were talking about networking events, I was kind of curious for people that are watching, since we're talking a little bit about networking here today, what and when was the last in-person networking event that you were at pre-COVID? For me, Kesha, I was at here in Michigan. I'm in Metro Detroit, and I'm involved with a women's organization called Inforum, and we have a monthly networking group. And it was Thursday, March 12th, and I remember it was like that week. Everything was starting to get a little crazy, and I even had like calls, emails, text messages the night before from people saying, "Is it still on? Is it still on?" And I'm like, "I think so." I mean, the facility we were holding it at wasn't closing, and I'm like, yeah, I think so. So we showed up. We didn't handshake because we were not shaking hands that week, but we had probably 30 or so women there, and it was a women's networking group. And we left that day, and that was it. I mean, that kind of was like the last hurrah. I mean, it was a great event to be the last event for me. How about for you? What was the last live networking event you were at, Kesha?
The last big event I was at probably had hundreds of people. It was Dress for Success, Connections to Success, had their tribute to success where they celebrate women and accomplishments and individuals that have done great things in the community. And I think there was some talks about COVID, but things hadn't shut down yet. And so we were still hugging and we were still all of those things.
Yeah.
But talks were in the air. And that was the last big event that I had gone to. And it just really felt so good. And so I'm holding on.
Do you remember what the date was? It was in March?
It was in March.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was on Women's World Day, or the Women's, what's the one day?
International Women's Day?
International Women's Day. It was on that day. Yes, it was. And it was, there was a ton of amazing women. And I've been holding on to that feeling because I miss it.
Yeah.
What made me do the podcast, because I miss connecting with people. I miss that interaction and connecting with people. And it was part of this whole COVID thing, Brenda. When you think of, you're welcome, Lauren, when you think of all of those pieces, that me being such an extrovert with an A, Brenda, not but with an A.
Yeah.
Such an extrovert. I missed the connecting with people, and I created the podcast so that I could still connect to people. And then in that time, work had started to, we were shifting in my 9 to 5. So I had a little bit of extra time, and I knew I wanted to finish the book. I signed up with a mastermind with yes, to help me center, to help me come up with ideas, to help me understand the true essence of what was going on, because there was a lot of emotions that I felt around that. I'm used to being on the go, Brenda. So to be on the go like that, I was like, what in the world? And I really had to get serious about me finishing the book, because
focusing that, right?
Oh my goodness, Brenda, it's been a little bit over a 2-year journey.
Wow.
And I said that I wanted to do it, at making goals.
So let's break this down a little bit, because I told you, I'm kind of following you in your footsteps here. I've been like talking about it for years.
Yes.
It was like in the fall last year, I was at a writers conference. They booked me as a speaker about LinkedIn, and so I'm like, yeah, I'll go to this writers conference. And I met a guy. He actually wrote a book. I'm trying to look for it in my bookshelf because I'm going to hold it up. It's literally called, I'm going to grab it. Hold on.
Okay, grab it. He planted a seed in you.
I go rogue and I go off camera sometimes when I so this is the book. Literally, it's called How to Write a Book in 30 Days. And I'm like, and it's a quick read. So the guy was at the conference, and I read the book, and then I'm like, done, I'm doing it. So, I mean, part of his philosophy is like, you need to write every single day. And you can write a draft in 30 days, but you got to commit to like a half hour or an hour's worth of writing.
Absolutely.
And I pretty much, I mean, it was probably like a month and a half, but I did get the first draft done. And then from there, I mean, he's got other processes that are like, you know, what you do next, and here's resources, and he does coaching and stuff on that. And I haven't figured out what to do, but I procrastinated. The holidays happened, and then someone's like, hey,
it's normal.
Yeah, and someone said, hey, it's a book about pie. You should have the launch on March 14th, 3.14 Pi Day. And I'm like, well, that's
good. That's our area, our zip code. No,
is it?
Oh, 314.
Your area code, yeah. So actually, my procrastination worked in my favor, because had I planned on a launch party on March 14th, I would have had to cancel it because COVID was happening. So now I'm like kind of stuck, because his philosophy is write without editing and then go back and edit. So now I'm like 2/3 of the way through editing, and now I go through the process. So talk to me a little bit about your process. I mean, how long did it take you to write it, and what did you learn that you could share with me and with others?
Absolutely, Brenda. The biggest thing I learned is, and I recall being in our mastermind, and we started talking about our energy. The biggest thing that helped me was having my energy in the right place, and understanding that when my energy was high, my time to write. But when my energy was low, it was okay to take a break and, you know, go and do other things. But I was forcing it at first.
Okay. Yeah.
Forcing it. And when the energy was right, I set the goals, and you can keep setting goals. The thing is, I had to stop beating myself up too.
Okay.
Because it's going to come because you desire that. But the biggest thing is when your energy is right, your energy's high, because we have times where we're on and we're ready, and run with that. I'm learning to run with that energy. And when that energy is not as high or it's not there, it's okay to take a step back and say, hey, it's all good. But stop beating myself up, but continue to go, to have that mindset to get it done.
So is this something you learned from the mastermind group with other people in the group that are like, hey, you need to, because it sounds like, I mean, focusing on energy is a good thing, but where did you get the guidance? It was from the mastermind group on that?
Focusing the energy was the biggest thing. And we talk about energy in the mastermind, and in our mastermind, so the Anna, who's the lady that runs the mastermind, she's a Reiki specialist. And she talks about how your energy and paying attention to the flow of your energy, really having time management. We talked about all of those things, looking at my day to day and how things were rolling and how I could fit this into everything else that was going on. But of course, because everything happened with COVID, it gave me time to really evaluate and reevaluate what I want. My mentor always says, well, what do you want? Do you want to write the book? What do you want? What do you want from it? But understanding as you go through that process and you have your outline. So of course, starting with the outline, creating what you want to say, coming up with your chapters. How many chapters are you writing a novel? What are you writing about? And understanding those pieces. And then what I started doing is just brain mapping. So as I would have ideas, sometimes in the middle of the night, I would get up and just write something down. I had to get it out. And I learned that getting it out helped me now have that energy flow in the right place, but really committing to it at the same time. I have a friend, Jared McGowan, he's also an author. And one thing that he said he did is he set time on his calendar and he got up in the morning for 6 weeks. I want to say he got up at 5 a.m. and that was his time to write. Now he's a Marine and everybody doesn't operate and think like that, but he said he got up at 5 a.m. and that was his time to write before his family got up, before he started moving around, before he needed to be at work, and that was his time. But he inspired me too to come up with my own plan. The thing that I learned is people are going to have all sorts of things that they do. You can hear from them and use their tips, but it won't be the exact for you. It just won't. We just have to realize that and come to grips with that and use our intuition when things feel good and out, but connect to people that are already there. So I connect to other authors who are already published, who are already doing great things. And the great thing is I worked with a publishing coach when I was done writing it, and I'm a bestseller now. I was number one.
Congratulations.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Number one new release in 4 different categories on Amazon.
Wow, that's great.
It was so surreal, Brenda. That work that goes into all of that. And I did it by myself, and I learned to delegate things. I learned to give things out because we want to do it all, right?
Yeah.
Be a jack of all trades and master.
Right. And you probably want to, I mean, I'm one of the things I struggle with the book too, is like turning it over to somebody to do editing and proofreading. I'm like, I don't want them to change the meanness of it. You know what I mean? Like there's some things that are kind of quirky personality things that I want to incorporate, and I don't want them to go, yeah, that seems kind of goofy, you know? Yeah, but I'm a little off sometimes.
I was the same way. And I was really upfront with the editor. And I said, I don't want to take things out of my voice. I don't want to take things and take them so far off. There's a place where I dedicated to my husband. And my editor said something like my dearest husband. I was like, I don't say my dearest.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that. That's not my voice.
Yeah. Like I call him Sweetie. Can I say Sweetie in there? Because, you know.
Good morning, Tisha. Yes, I had to make sure that I really was authentic to myself. And I'm learning that as I did the inside work.
Yeah.
My gosh, the inside work, clearing and getting clear and working on my energy. My outsides are benefiting now that I've been able to get clear and understand my lane, my secret sauce. There's this acronym that I always use, Brenda. It's called TEST.
Okay.
And here's what the acronym stands for.
Okay.
TEST.
Okay.
The first T is for time. The time you put in and what you do is absolutely going to be the time that you put out. If you make a time and you put it on your calendar, you send a calendar invite to yourself, that time that you put in every single time in marriage, in your business, in writing your book, in your kids and raising them, everything we do, and even into ourselves, the time that we invest is purely the time you get out. So if you're halfway about it and you're kind of teeter-tottering, you have to understand you're not going to get greatness out. The time you put in is the time you get out.
Okay, great.
The E is for energy. Brenda, okay. I'm so serious about the energy, and I think of it this way. Energy is a real thing, and people can feel your energy when you show up. If you show up with that book and you're like, oh yeah, oh, here's my book.
Yeah.
And you're not sure about it, people will feel that. If you show up and you're excited and you're telling people about it and you're all about it, people will want to know more, and that's just how it works. So your energy is real. Pay attention to your energy. And sometimes I have to even say myself, I need to stop, collect myself, and start again. So just do it, but acknowledge it. The S is for secret sauce.
Okay.
Your secret sauce is your secret sauce.
Okay.
No one can steal your concept. They can't take your idea. They can copy it, but they cannot take it from you. Your secret sauce is your secret sauce.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter how many people have written a book about that same title. Doesn't matter how many people do what you do. Your secret sauce is your secret sauce. Nobody can mimic that. And I say this every day. I say this a lot, and when I'm speaking and I'm out, no one can take that from you, but you have the ability to add in those ingredients that you want. Think about that big bowl and you're cooking up that cake. Your secret sauce is your secret sauce. So
right.
About that. No one can take it. And the last T is for truth.
Okay.
And the truth of the matter is, when you operate in your authentic truth as to who you are, you're not mimicking, you're not copying anybody else. When you're in your truth and you're operating from your truth, things that you desire will line up, but you must. I can't operate from Brenda's truth. I have to operate from my truth, and that's owning every part of my story, every trial, everything, every lesson, because the only L's that I'm taking for the rest of my life, Brenda, are lessons.
Love it. Love it. And I want to show you, you're talking about, you know, the pride in your book, and Tisha Hammond, who's watching, I hope she's still watching right now. She posted on Instagram the other day her book, and this isn't Tisha in the picture. This is somebody, but gesturing to the book in the background. And, you know, when Tisha found this in the bookstore, she posted and she talked about it, her book being, I'm not finding that exact post, but here it is right here. So I think she was like in the shop and walking around, and she saw the book, and she was in her face mask, and she held it up, and it's like, oh my gosh. And you get excited for her when you see something.
You do. And that builds energy. That is your secret sauce. That's your energy around what you're doing. And that comes with whatever it is that we do. Your energy is yours. And when I'm out meeting people, I like to take pictures of them just like you, Brenda. Share those pictures. See that? People want to see the true, authentic you. And operating in that really just allows me to keep moving and keep going, and to do it so that it's flowing. It's not forced. No forcing it. I stop forcing it, and I start letting it flow. You see my ears? I'm letting these.
What are they? Are they little flowers?
They are, and they're sparkling. This morning I said, this is going to be my sparkle today.
I love it. That's pretty. You got to have some sparkle, right? And I want to bring up on your, and I'm pulling this up on screen right now. I'm having your book website, and I need to toggle to the web page so if people want to look at this. But you have on here, so tell me about this technique. There's this pre-order now button. So you did some pre-order sales for this, and tell me about that as a strategy, as a technique to help with the book, or offset costs, or what is that? You know, tell me about that.
Oh my gosh, Brenda, the real reason that I wanted to do that was to build momentum and to are people thinking about the book. And when I did the pre-orders, what it did is it allowed me to create this momentum. It allowed me to create this energy. And you know what? When you create the energy, people jump onto that energy. And by pre-ordering, what that does is that built up the demand for the book.
Okay.
So
at what point, I mean, you probably had to have the cover design at that point, but how far into the process? I mean, do you need to have everything like ISBN and everything done at that point to pre-sell it, or is it, where?
You do need to have your cover. I would say you should have your cover. You should have all of those specifics, the editing for the cover, and the lady that created the cover. We had the cover created in December.
Wow. Okay.
On Juneteenth. June 19th, and that was my big thing, that I wanted to put something out on Juneteenth as well. And I said, you know what? I'm putting it out on June.
So June, that was the day you started selling the book, or it was available, it was published?
That was the day I started pre-sales. That was
pre-sales. Okay, gotcha.
The actual proof was just recently available over the last week.
Okay.
And you can actually go on Amazon and purchase it from Amazon. And everyone that did the pre-sale, thank you so much for all of you guys that said yes and bought the pre-sale of the book. And what they're doing is they're creating those now, and they're going to get those shipped out. Now,
so is it too late to pre-sale, to pre-order?
It's not too late. You can still do that. You can click that button and you can hop in there now, and you can pre-order too. But what happened is with COVID, Amazon and their book publishing and all the pieces that they do, they've been a little bit slow behind schedule. People are that their things are weeks out, and I'm being patient. I'm kind of keeping my customers updated so that they know the book is coming. It's a real thing. You can go on Amazon and see my bestseller stats, and
that's awesome.
It's great. It is amazing, Brenda. I woke up. So it happened on my birthday. I had a book launch.
Yes.
On my birthday, July 15th. And do you know, on the 14th, overnight, we put the book out, and on my birthday, I found out that I was a bestseller and I was a new release artist in a book in so many different categories. So job hunting, career development, there's so many different categories that Amazon can place a book in. So Brenda, when you're thinking about, as you're writing it and you're getting to those stages, think about where the book can be housed at, because there's so many categories on Amazon where you can place the book, where people will go specifically to that category to search for the type of book that you've written. So be sure to make sure that you do that.
I'm pulling up your Instagram right now, and I'm going to drop your Instagram handle in the links in both of the sites too. But so when you list this, and I want to get to the podcast too before we go too much further into the interview, but when you list it on Amazon, do you have to pay per category, or is it just like adding like SEO, like keywords that you would do that?
So you don't have to pay per category. Once you decide and you get your ISBN and you get everything, the copyright, you get all of that stuff, then Amazon sends you to the area where you select your category and select the different categories. It's what helps you become a new release best-selling author. You get to go against all of these other books. It was so competitive, Brenda, and I'm already super competitive. And that was my saving grace. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't even sleep. The day of my birthday, I stayed up all night.
Well, that was a happy birthday for you then. That's very exciting. So let's change gears a little bit, because I want to talk a little bit about the podcast. And then, guys, we are going to move into some Q&A. So if you do have a comment on book writing or a podcast, leave a comment below, ask a question, and we'll move to that in about 5 to 10 minutes here. But let's change gears a little bit. So was the podcast already in place before the book, or were they simultaneous routes? Or tell us a little bit about that process.
Oh my gosh, Brenda. The podcast was originally launched January 2019. So a whole year had gone and I hadn't done anything, but I launched it. I had the space and I had created the title, right? And the book thought and the concept came first, though. And the podcast kind of came behind that. But yes. And they get together. And when I think of branding and think about what I want is, when someone Googles networking interest superpower, I want the book to come up. I want the podcast to come up. And I want all of those things to come up. So I'm really working on branding. And I've done new branding shoot where I've had some new pictures taken. I'm using new, if you look at my Instagram, you'll see that I'm using these flowers. Those flowers represent me. And as I'm blooming into all these different pieces, I'm thinking of how I can just share the story, because I think that people see us dressed up and they see us as we are in our whoever we are, but people see the story. So I want to make sure that I'm telling the story. I had my oldest daughter when I was 19 years old out of wedlock. I was a single mom. I graduated high school early, went to work full time as a single mom, went back to college, got my bachelor's degree, then got my master's degree. There was a journey. I didn't just get to this. I started to understand the power of relationships. There were people along the journey, and that goes back to networking. I have some pieces in my book about that, but people along my journey started to see gifts in me. And what they did is, because they recognized the gifts, it allowed me to then recognize those gifts, to sharpen those gifts, to then start getting mentors. I never had a mentor until I was probably in my late 30s, early 30s. I've had that I've worked under that, were silent mentors. We didn't say, okay, I'm going to mentor you, but I got to watch them and see how they did things. And my first boss she was also a woman of color, and she led a department. I was in the Illinois area. She was the director of telemetry in a huge hospital, but I watched her in her professionalism and her confidence and how she walked and moved. I say today, she was my silent mentor. And she planted so many seeds in me. And I started to see that, I could do this too. Of course, I have to put the work in. I have to find the right connections. And then I had to really find my voice, because I think that's what happened in everything in trauma. We sometimes forget all the great things because we suppress it because of everything else. And I know for a fact that all of those relationships and those people along the way, they helped mold me into the powerhouse that I am today. And I'm learning to use my voice, be authentic, and show up. Just show up.
So have you invited any of those folks on your podcast?
So Shirley George, the lady that I'm telling you about, she actually lives here in St. Louis. I'm going to get set up so that she can come on my podcast. But most of the women that you'll hear on my podcast, I have a real live connection with. We've connected in several ways, in different fashions. And they've been mentors to me along the way. Both of my mentors, Vivio Lopez, she has an episode on there, as well as Bernie Frazier, who also has a book. She's an author. It's titled Your Success is in You. And that book helped me get through into what I wanted.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. So I'm putting up on screen Anchor FM, but you told me something in the pre-show. You're on a couple other networks for your podcast too, right?
Yes. I am now on Apple Podcasts, Brenda. I'm on iHeartRadio.
Awesome.
I'm on these places, anywhere that you can listen to a podcast. Look up networking. It's your superpower. I would love for you guys to subscribe and to come along the journey with me. Leave a review after you listen. That's what helps your podcast on Apple get to where people can find it easier and they can connect. So I would love for you to get on there and listen. Leave a comment. Even on Anchor, what you can do on there is you can see where it says message. You can listen and then go back. Yeah, you can click message, and then you can leave me a voice message on what you got. And I did a really funny thing. I posted a post on Facebook, and I asked people to go in and leave a message, and everybody that left a message, I created a podcast, and you can see that on there.
Oh, that's cool.
And my question was, how are you networking through COVID-19? What are you doing to stay connected?
Okay. And you created a podcast of their voice clips?
Yes.
Which one is that?
Let me see. Keep going.
Okay. Can you see this on screen right now? I'm looking at a different screen, so I can't see you right now as I'm doing this.
Okay.
Was it a while ago?
Yes.
Okay. So we're in like March right now.
Okay, slow down and go back the other way.
Networking tips.
Networking during COVID. Go back down. What does that say?
This one right here.
What does it say?
Advice. Do it on purpose. Oops. Oh, sorry. I got to stop it. I think I just clicked out of it. But I'll grab the link from you afterwards, and then I can share that in the show notes.
That's it. I want to say that's it. And then what you can do is you can hear all of these business owners that tell you what they're doing to stay connected and how they're networking through COVID-19 and what they're doing specifically for them.
Yeah.
help them. So you get to leave a 60-second message.
That's cool.
Filed all those messages and we turned it into a podcast.
I love it. That's such a clever idea. So I'm curious now, is the podcast, is it just a personal goal for you? Is there a revenue stream that comes from that for you? Or is it more just branding? Tell me about that.
It's branding. It's a revenue stream. I have sponsors on there now. My goal is to get more sponsors where I'm able to take all over the world. People are listening from India, Ireland, Australia. People are listening all over the world. With Anchor, what it does is it allows you to see your analytics. So there's a button on there where you can say sponsor.
Okay.
At the top where you can say sponsor the episode or sponsor the podcast. And you can do that. See there where it says support.
Support.
You can support per month and you become a supporter and you help the podcast keeps going and you get to see other people. And yes, I've gained so many sponsors over these last 3 months. It's crazy, the momentum, Brenda. I'm telling you, energy is such a real thing. It is. So, I'm going to turn this fan on.
Okay. So we kind of go with the flow as we're doing the interview. I love that you're the same way. You're like, hold on. And you guys, are you seeing over her, what is it, over your right shoulder? It's like everything's reversed. You've got like the whiteboard on the wall, like a whiteboard wall, white wall. I don't know what they call them, but what does it say? You are strong.
You are strong.
I love it. Yeah, it's kind of like when you moved out of the way, I was like, oh, I don't know if anybody's watching and they were the same way. They're like, oh, what is that? I can't see it in the background.
It says you are strong.
Yeah. So we have something weird happening with my LinkedIn right now. And I want to kind of do a shout out. If anybody is watching this on LinkedIn, could you please leave a comment on the video? Because it looks like my video is getting suppressed. It's not showing to people. There's like a couple views on it, but normally it goes out to like 100 people in the first couple minutes. And it's for some reason, it's not getting the views. And I can't figure out what is happening on here.
All right, LinkedIn, get it together.
I don't know what's happening. And now it's like, it's not even in the feed anymore. So I'm not sure if it might be a StreamYard hiccup. And maybe there's a bunch of people leaving comments and they're like, why is she ignoring us? I'm not ignoring you. Something is happening in the background here and it doesn't look like the video is being pushed out. And I can't figure out why. But if you are watching it, do me a favor on LinkedIn, just leave a quick comment. And then if you could also click to share it, because that should help to kind of like knock in the bottom of the ketchup bottle. It should help.
All about the algorithms.
Yeah, but I'll still share the link out later. And I see that people are engaging on Facebook, so we're getting some conversation going there. But it's just it's not the same rate. And I'm like, what is going on? Because this is a cool topic. I know it's not the topic. It's sometimes it's like you gotta like.
And wait a minute, you didn't say because I'm cool.
Well, you're awesome. I mean, obviously. I mean, I don't feel like I even had to say that. Like, she's awesome. The energy is good. It's just like the conversation thread. Normally, like in the beginning, when I put, comment below, let us know where you're watching from. I'll get like 10 or 20 different comments. And we got like 1 or 2. And I'm like, well, that was really odd. And then I also said, comment below, ask a question, because we're going to move into Q&A next. And the only conversation items that have come in were mainly from Facebook. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through right now. We have Facebook. I mean, it's one person, Tisha, and I was talking about her book as well. And thank you so much, Tisha. So she just went over to LinkedIn and she added a comment there. And she's clicking on share. She's such a good helper, right? She's helping us. So I don't know what's happening.
You connect to me too, Tisha. I would love to chat.
Yeah, I think you guys, you have very similar energy, and you're similar in, she's both a speaker, author, entrepreneur, a lot of similarities in her background and your background. So you and I are just going to keep chatting, Kesha, because I'm not seeing the comments coming in because of LinkedIn, not because of the community and not because of you. Something odd is happening. So I'm going to use this as my time selfishly to ask you a few follow-up questions.
Be selfish.
How did you choose Anchor as the initial platform for your podcast? Did you evaluate pros and cons? Was it the easiest to use? Was it the cheapest? Like, how did you come up with Anchor as that platform?
My number one reason, Brenda, was I went on YouTube because there's so many different platforms that you can use. And because I'm simplistic. And I saw a YouTube review of a young man who created one. And he was a student in high school. I think he was.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm. College student. I think he just graduated. Anyway, but he said he walked you through it on screen, how super easy it was. And he said, and you know what? you can do it from your phone. You don't have to be in the studio.
Okay.
I like that. That was what attracted me to it. And I started to get on. And when I did it, I went to the library to kind of research it some more. They have a studio at the library where you can record here in St. Louis.
Okay.
And they had this huge manual of anchor tips. So it just fit.
Okay.
And easy for me to go on and do it. And I like simple. I love simple. That was my number one reason. And one of the other reasons is Anchor pushes your podcast out to other platforms. So Anchor will push it out to 8 other platforms. Even though you just do it on Anchor, you still have access to so many other platforms to get out and share it. So that was another motivator for me.
Okay. All right. So I'm seeing, and I think this was a platform that was recommended to me by someone else. And now the fact that you, somebody I know and respect and a real person, you've used it as well. I'm like, yeah, I should check it out. And is it free? Do you have to pay for certain?
It's free, Brenda. You don't pay anything. You don't pay absolutely anything. And the great thing is you have access, and there's an app. Like the app, it's super easy on the app. You can record on the app, or you can record on your computer. I have a podcasting mic too that I use for like clear. I could have used that today. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
But podcasting mic too that I use it makes it super easy too.
Okay, awesome. Well, I'm going to definitely check that out. And now you talked about the process of being added to Apple. Where was it? You said Apple, and was it Google Play?
Yes. And when you get your setup here on Anchor, there is an RSS feed that you get it. Now with those other platforms, they want you to be consistent. So I think that they want you to maybe have like 10 episodes and then you get on there or something like that. Okay. So they want to see your consistency before they put you out there. And
so if I've got like, 70 social media like these in the series right now, I mean, should I batch them or should I put like one out a week what do you recommend in terms of should I put a bunch out there so I have 10 and then I can add others in there?
That's a good idea, Brenda. You should. I would pull 10 and then put them out there so that when you go to apply for Apple Podcasts and Google Play and you go out there for iHeartRadio, they can go on and see your feed and see that you actually have podcasts.
Okay.
That's the thing that they're looking for, is they're looking for your consistency. I had to research that too, because I was thinking that it was so hard to get on, and it really hard. Take the word hard out. It's a process, and I keep saying it's a process. None of it is hard, but you want to make sure that you follow the steps, because as you follow those steps, it gets easier. It gets easier, and then you can even show other people. I have a girlfriend, Jamie Dolby. Shout out to Jamie. She's the owner of a podcast studio, Kazi Society, here in St. Louis. And she said, it's so easy. And she sent me the link, but she planted the seed in my head that it was so easy, right? So when I did it, it was so easy. So all of those pieces, I think it goes back to our energy and what we think about it. But had she said, it's so hard to do it, here you go, would I have put the energy into it? Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So we're going to start to kind of wrap the conversation here today. So for those that are watching and playback later, still leave a comment below. I'm going to try to figure, I'm going to probably contact StreamYard and say what the heck happened. Because it looks like
our stuff.
I don't know. I'm like, this is an amazing topic. I got an amazing speaker. I'm not sure why it's not being pushed out. But I will make sure to share it onto my LinkedIn later on today as well. So we're getting some additional viewers. So still leave a comment below if you're watching this in playback. If you have any questions about writing a book, if you have questions about, producing a podcast, or if you have done one of the above and you have additional tips and resources you'd like to share, please feel free, because we're all about sharing, right, Kesha? I mean, we don't own the space. We've learned, but we can continue to learn, right?
I want to know what you know, and that's how I've been getting to lots of all these pieces have been coming from people that have things and they've tried it, and I think that's the biggest piece for all of us to share our resources, because that's what it's all about. The beginning, and the middle of networking is relationships, connectivity, all those. It's all about that. We stay connected, Brenda, and we keep staying connected. We're connected on social media. I can see your posts, and with Together in Digital, all that stuff that you're still doing. I saw that they posted you on there, and I was like, nice.
Yeah, well, secretly, I'm actually helping with the community management role right now. So when you say they, was actually me. Sometimes I kind of I'm like the lazy marketer, and I'm not really lazy, but I like, what can I come up with that I don't have to think too much about it? And I'm like, well, I actually bought, one of my fellow Together Digital members from Detroit is selling fitness apparel, Zaya Active, and she didn't pay me. I mean, I had to buy the apparel from her, but I bought a pair of new yoga pants, and I did like an unboxing of it, and I gave her a shout out. And I'm always a big believer in like supporting small businesses, supporting women entrepreneurs. And I'm like, I need a new pair of yoga pants. So I bought these pair of pants and I unwrapped it and then I posted it on mine and then I reshared it to the chapter page. And I even do your content. Sometimes I'm like, I want to put something in my Instagram stories and I can't think of anything. And I'm like, Kesha's always posting great inspirational quotes, uplifting, current events, trends. And I'm like, I'll pull like, and I'm like, I'm not stalking you, but I just love your content.
I love it. Thank you for saying that because I'm always teeter-tottering. But today, you know what I'm doing is I'm just being authentic to what I feel and I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah.
There was a t-shirt that you guys had on the Together in Digital page.
Yeah.
I want to say Lucretia had it on in the Cincinnati area. And it says something about equality and something. I was like, I want that shirt.
Yeah.
So I out and they said it was for a fundraiser, but I really want to make sure that I get that shirt. It was dope.
I'm going to share the page and then you can tell me if this is what you were referring to. So I'm trying to navigate. I'm in like the pilot chair right now and I'm trying to do everything.
Yes.
So I think this was right when Black Lives Matter, when everything was kind of happening and a lot of organizations were trying to show their support. So Together Digital created this shirt. And is that Lucretia? I've never met her.
That is Lucretia. I met her at the conference.
Okay, yeah, and she's a powerhouse. I think she's like city champ of is it
city champ?
Columbus. I'm not sure which city it is. Yeah,
Cincinnati, Ohio. She's in Ohio.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, that's the shirt there. So as we start to wrap here, I'm going to pull up your LinkedIn. I just had it up on screen. I'm going to go back to it right now. And for people that are watching here today, Kesha, are you open to new invitations?
Absolutely.
So if you guys do send Kesha an invitation, I'm going to throw her LinkedIn URL up on screen as well here. If you do send her an invitation, do make sure that you mention that you watched her show, her interview here on the show today. And if there was something particularly helpful that she shared about her book writing or her podcast, or if you felt inspired by her, tell her that. I always like to let's break down the walls a little bit. Let's shake real people and just be like, oh my gosh, I loved when you said this. Like it shows that you're listening and paying attention, and that passion is something that helps to connect one of us to others.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about.
Anything else you'd like to share with the viewers in closing here? Feel free to shout outs, any of the above.
Yes. Thank you all for listening and tuning in. Brenda, did you see that I moved my picture closer because of your advice?
Did you? Did you zoom it in a little bit? Because it was further back, right? And then once you zoom it in, this is my LinkedIn technique. So this profile photo that she was referring to, I recommend like top of your head to the bottom of your chin. It should be about 50 to 60% of the circle. And I think you had actually it was a standing photo. Now I remember this. It was like head to toe. And when you're looking on mobile, this is what her photo looks like. I have to actually back up. It's like, I mean, think about 50% of web traffic is occurring on our mobile phone. So when you're super, super far back, we can't see your face at all. And when you get more zoomed in and you look a bit more approachable, personable, all of that stuff happens.
Like real,
right? Awesome. And anything else? I mean, you've got.
Really, again, you guys, thank you for everyone who purchased a pre-sale of the book. The book is still available. I really want you to understand the power of connectivity. If you've ever thought that networking was something that is out of your reach, it is within your reach. Mm-hmm. I can't lend you me every day. You won't do it exactly like me. So that's always my disclaimer. There's millions of ways to do it. That's my disclaimer. I got that from Fred Meller. But the truth of the matter is I will give you cheat codes to do it. If you connect with me, I can offer you a 15 to 30 minute session on building what I call a power statement. When you meet people for the first time, you want to have a power statement. You want them to be engaged. You want them to know about your passions. Connect to me. I would love to do that. You can connect to me on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You can shoot me an email at Mrs. Keesh Speaks. brenda@gmail.com to schedule that. One of the other things I should have did, Brenda, I didn't think of this, is to include my Calendly link so that people could use that.
Okay, so I'm gonna send you an email later today. Just include any of those links because I'll put those in like the YouTube playback. And I see right here, this is Faith with Heels. This is my friend Navita. Now, while I'm doing this, I want to ask you, Kesha, do you have a copy of your book that you could hold up in front of the camera right now? I haven't ordered one yet, so I don't have it. But
let's go back to that screen. I don't have a copy of it.
Let me just show you real quick because Navita is an author as well, and she was in this book. She was one of the writers, the professional Black woman, and she's on the back cover. Really amazing book. So Navita, I was gonna say you have to have a book. I'm like, oh wait, she does, and I have it in my bookshelf. So I'm a big supporter of women entrepreneurs, women authors, and authors in general. You know, people that I know. If you've written a book, I'm gonna buy a copy because I'm gonna support you. So let me pull back. Should I go to your book website? Would that be the best place?
That's the best place to see it, yes.
Okay, so let me go into this page right here. And let's see, did it launch yet? Okay, I think it's adding to the stream right now. There we go.
Bam! There we go.
So there it is, Networking Your Superpower. And I want to encourage you guys, if you're interested in reading that, you can
scroll down a little bit so you can see it.
Am I on the wrong page? I think I'm on the wrong page. Here we go.
There you go.
So still available for pre-order. I'm going to be ordering it as soon as we get done with the show here today. And I'll take a picture and post it on social media holding the photo. Because I'll be like, I know her, you know.
She's a bestseller. She's not an author. She's a best-selling author.
She is a best-selling author. I should have introduced you. I'd like to introduce you to my friend, best-selling author Kesha Kent. I should have started with that. I'll like pipe in like the fan cheering and stuff like that, right? Awesome. Well, Kesha, thank you so much for your time today. It was such a virtual hug, right? we got to do that again because this will be our YouTube cover image. Ready? All right, here we go. There we go. It'll be like the still of our interview. We got to do this again sometime. You're one of very few. Yeah, you're one of few people that I've invited back because I love the energy, the dynamic, and we'll do this again. I'll be tapping your shoulder in the future. Yeah,
I'm saying yes.
We'll have the book and we'll talk about it again and we'll continue the conversation. So thank you so much for joining. It was such a pleasure chatting with you today.
You're welcome. Be blessed. Thank you, Brenda.
All right, guys. And as we're finishing the conversation,
thank you all. Be blessed. Make today great on purpose.
Yes. As we're finishing this off, I want to remind you guys, please click to share this video with your network. You never know who this message may reach and can help to kind of continue Kesha's word and her work as well. And then also I'd like to encourage you to go to mellermarketing.com/subscribe where you can get notification of my future social media pie interview series. And once I get my podcast published and produced, because Kesha's inspired me, and my book, you'll be notified about those information as well.
Ooh, there you go, girl.
All right, guys, stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you online. Take care.
See you soon.